How's it going, YouTube? We're back with another match. This time we have two spicy decks you don't see too often in this format. We have three Musketeers from the player in the left, and then we have myself playing Rasenmon. Off to a terrible start, no rookie. So in this tournament we're past Digifest. We're now back to no mulligan, no side decks. And I gotta say, I really felt it. There's so many games today or on that day where I just was not able to open up a rookie. For the purple player, you know, we're gonna see the Musketeer package. His deck is really cool. He's got a little bit of everything, you know, some Musketeers, some Rasenmon shenanigans, memes, you know, promote action, a little bit of Lilith shenanigans. No Lilith, but you know, the Jack raid as he feels with the trash. So really cool deck overall. It's cool to see people experiment and try stuff out. As for myself, you know, I like Rasenmon. He's not as bad as people think he is. Obviously, he's not that great either, but you know, for locals, it's good enough. So, you know, kind of a slow start for me. I had no rookie. We had to hard play. And then my level 5 got fly bulleted. Luckily, we are able to set up a TK and then start building in the back. Early on, Rasenmon can be a little bit tough because, you know, Rasenmon is very expensive to go into when you have a lot of security. Also, I realized in this match now that my opponent's board has like a ton of glare. Hopefully, it's not that bad. Once he brings out, you know, you can definitely see the cards are. But, you know, definitely a learning experience for myself. The acid injection can be used to clear the Rasenmon. Does cost 1 security though. Yeah, so basically we can't see what cards he has in Racing, but once they come out we can see what they are. He's just getting chip damage. I think, you know, his goal is to fill his trash as soon as possible. Trying to get as many options in there. Just cards in general, you know. One thing I will say is that, like, when we were playing, he was constantly checking how many cards are in his trash. And it's like a very clear tell that he's playing Jack raid, right? Like, when the game starts, you think Musketeers, I'm like, there's no way. You just wouldn't expect a Jack raid, right? But like, as soon as he starts going like, oh, I have like 7, 8 cards in trash, like, it's like a very clear tell that he's playing that card, right? So when you're playing the game, just think about this sort of things, like your opponent, what they do can give you information on, you know, what is in their hand or in their deck. And the other way, like, you know, when you do certain plays, it kind of gives them stuff to work with as well, right? So still sort of a slow game. He's setting up the trash. We're setting up some sort of stack. You know, there's not a ton of Rasenmon decks out there because it's just not that popular. We finally do go into Rasenmon. This is a pretty solid play. You know, he had to hard play the Rebelli, and then we have a good answer to it. Now, the Rasenmon, he only really gets to show off or pop off once because, you know, it's Digiburst. But as you see there, it can be pretty good where it only costs 2 to go into, and then I had enough to answer his level 5 and put up some pressure. We can still Digiburst once more if we need to in the future. Instead of Digivolping over the Salamon, we hard played Leomon because he was going to get set to 3 anyway with the mat. And I just want to, you know, get the recovery of the Salamon as I don't want to die to shenanigans. Again, our opponent's, you know, counting how many cards are in trash. You can see he's got the Beelstar in hand. Gonna instantly playing it. It's going to be pretty expensive. Now, he does have the Mimi to work with, but I guess he really, you know, wanted to get the Rasen off the board. With the Edgerborn on the bottom, he could have been summoning Bushi Agumons, things like that. So, you know, Beelstar kind of expensive, but at the end of the day, maybe not that bad, right? Because he's got the Mimi to work with, he has some memory as well. Salamon doesn't die, which is worst case scenario, right? It's like, you're like, okay, I'm going to swing with Salamon, have it be deleted, and then get that recovery. Instead, it survives, and he gets a body because we hit an option. So, you know, definitely not the ideal swing. Our opponent has quite the board now. It forces me to Digivolve with the TK into Kasuchi. I think because we're just digging, I need to cycle my hand, which we know we must be lacking those crucial pieces. Just kind of going the aggressive there, trying to get as many swings as possible. I think the reason is like, okay, maybe I lift 1 turn and then we can go for game. I have to Wyverns the BL Star, which definitely put in work, you know, cleared my level 7, and then I had to spend 8 memory to clear her. At this point, we have 2 security, my opponent has 2 swings. And his deck has some combo shenanigans. Obviously, he's got access to cards like Promote, so it's not impossible that he might be able to get 1 more swing, right? So in this situation, I would say that I'm definitely very scared. If the Salamon had been deleted in security, I'd be feeling like infinitely safer. But I don't think we had really any other option. And I was forced to Digivolve over my TK as well, right? So we're not in the greatest spot, but my opponent has low security as well, and I still have bodies on the board, so he has to make a choice, right? Like, can he go for game? Is he forced to clear? As soon as he swings over the Leomon, I'm like, okay, we're not gonna die this turn, which is good. Gabu swings. Now he still has to clear the Salamon, otherwise he just loses to the Salamon, which is kind of good for us, right? Because like yeah, clear the Salamon, we get some life back, seems good. But it's been a pretty close match. Definitely some nice back and forth. The start wasn't the greatest for me, having to hard drop the champion. But we found pieces after, and it's been okay. By now our opponent definitely has stuff set up. Going with another BL star. It's still fairly expensive, but you know, not really that bad. He does get memory to work with. He's able to sort of memory choke me, at least put me at 3. And we get the recovery of the Salamon. So at this point, there's no way that I can go for game, right? We only have 1 attack. And I don't have a lot to work with, so it's definitely a tough position to be in. I gotta say the Rasenmon alt art is super cute. I absolutely love it. Just gonna poke, draw for Upa, hit another Tamer. Now, because we hit a Tamer there, you know, our rookie has survived, and we could do shenanigans, try and Digibulb over it. Because, you know, I might not have another rookie to start building another stack. Okay, so going to Leomon. By the way, I love the EX Leomon. One of my favorite cards ever. It's so troll. People never expected. The effect is actually super good. And in decks like this where it's like, I'm not super reliant on my 4-drops. Like, you know, just having that for the effect is good enough. Going to the Rise. If we had a Tamer, that would be fantastic. We don't. But Kasuchi is going to put him, give him a lot of memory to work with. But I like Kasuchi here because the reasoning was that, like, hey, Kasuchi's at 12k, so BL Star is not going to be able to swing over it, right? They don't have any DP reduction or anything like that. And we go all the way to 3 security, which could, you know, potentially save me. There could be more stuff in security that could be annoying for my opponent. And once again, my opponent has to make this decision. It's like, okay, you know, I have 2 swings. I need 4 to win the game. We hit a TK, which is really good. That's definitely going to come in handy. Especially because, you know, my opponent has no security. We do play hybrids. So my opponent has to decide, like, okay, can he win the game? Does he have to just clear the board? I don't believe he runs any blockers. Most decks done these days, right? So you're going to swing, hits a memory boost. So, hey, that Kasuchi put in work. My security was kind of loaded after that, which is kind of nice, right? Kasujimon, such a cool Digimon. Being able to heal up to 3 is so, so good. 12k, like I said, is really nice. And then he gets secure attack +1. So just an awesome Digimon overall, and in my opinion, he just works so well with Rasenmon, right? As Rasenmon, you want to get low in security to go for cheap, you know, Digivolutions, and then it's just so natural that you want to get that back with Kasuchi. So there you see the Jack Rates I was talking about. My opponent was holding on to him pretty much the entire game. But at this point with the Jack Rates and the Mimi, he has so much memory to work with. He's able to go into a sword. And this is what I was saying, like, his deck is really cool. He's got just a little bit of everything. So at this point, this almost looks like a Lilith loop turn, right? Where, like, you have X amount of memory, but really you have way more because of Jack Raids. And then he's got combos with the sword, and then he can bring back Promote. We can attack right away. So, you know, I really enjoyed this. His deck definitely pretty cool. Like, he still has the Musketeers engine. Iceman is really good as well. And then, of course, you know, the Lilith. Obviously, he's not playing Lilith, but, you know, purple shenanigans, we'll say. Now, at this point, he just needed 1 more attack. Another Promote would have done it. Anyway, he could have summoned one. Looks like he's not able to go for it though, has to once again just fly bullet. BL Star still kind of expensive. At this point, we could just Bushi for game. So that's going to be game 1. I think that game, you know, we had a bit of a rough start. And I don't know if my opponent could have killed us because he definitely had a lot of resources. Like I said, a lot of memory to work with. I'm not sure if maybe he could have played that a bit more aggressive because, like, he also only needed 1 more swing, right? But that was really close either way. It's cool, you know, I definitely want to show some videos out there. Like, I know we have a lot of meta decks, but I play a lot of non-meta stuff like I've been telling you guys. And, you know, it's locals. Obviously, our locals are good. We have a bunch of great players. And, you know, sometimes we get some good variety. So, I figured this week I would play Rasenmon because I like my deck and it's pretty sick. And we'll see what we run up against. Musketeers is not something I expected. But honestly, like, you watch his deck and you're like, man, this shit's pretty good. Like, if you were a Musketeers player and you sort of gave up on it, like, I don't know, he's making it work. I respect it. So we're going into game 2 here. Gonna see who's gonna go first. Like I said, not having the mulligan, you really, really feel it. So many games I don't open up a rookie. It really makes me appreciate the mulligan. Side deck I don't miss as much for sure, but the mulligan, I definitely miss the mulligan. Okay, looks like we're going first, and once again, no rookie. So you're gonna see, yeah, 2 games already. I don't open up a rookie. So less than ideal start. At least with the TK, we can pick up the Rasenmon from the security. Again, super cute card, super cool card. And hey, look, my opponent doesn't have a rookie either, right? So it's really funny how that works out. His deck definitely needs quite a bit of setup, but the Iceman Scattermon is going to get him there really quickly. Card is just super strong in general. I go into the 8mon. I like the 8mon a lot in this deck because, like I said, oftentimes you don't want to go into your level 6 right away. So 8mon is something that lets you put up some pressure before you go all the way to your 6. Like 8k is just a huge number. Scatter mode swings. He's got the rookie tamer set up. From this position, like, his deck is good to go, right? He's got pretty much the early game covered. You can see he's already discarding those 7 cost options. He's got pressure by having multiple bodies. Okay, so we're gonna see how much work this 8mon can do. Gonna go into a Judge Pitamon, looking so good. Okay, Fly Bullet, goodbye Pitamon. That sort of hurts. I don't have anything else to do, so I guess we just go into another TK, trying to find pieces. You can definitely see that, like, I'm kind of struggling to find my Chain Ride. We take a Kasuchi from the security. I think the top prize there is like, I obviously didn't have like the 5s and 6s that I need. And seeing the Kasuchi in security, I'm like, I'm probably gonna need that sooner rather than later. Our opponent is free to go aggressive here. Now, technically, the Rasenmon deck can, like, you know, punish by going into a very cheap Rasen, right? But I don't have the 5 anyway, so we're gonna see. The Analog Youth, super strong card for my opponent. Being able to fill his trash, let him get the pieces he needs, right? He's again gonna keep going with the aggression. There was another Rasen, or any Rasen in security. So, you know, we definitely had a choice of level 6s there. And I took the Kasuchi. I might have had a Rasen in hand already. My deck plays 4 Rasen. The Warp into the Bielsamon, not something you see every day, and definitely not something that I expected. Really cool though, you know, Immon into Biels for 4, and he gets to pop my 8mon. Actually, super sick play. And this is one of the benefits when you play a deck that is not like so commonly known, where your deck list isn't super expected. Like, you have access to plays that your opponent will just not be ready for. There you see the Leomon getting off in security. We get that recovery +1. You know, it's kind of nice. Sometimes that 1 extra life can absolutely change the course of the game. Sometimes it doesn't do that much, but I do love that Leomon, like I said. But yeah, the Bielsamon was super sick. Now he has the Biel Star. So it definitely seems like the game for him. I was, again, kind of a bit slow. We hit a Fly Bullet in security, and then he had the Warp to clear my other body. So definitely pretty solid plays. He's got quite a board. We can go into the Rasen mode. And here's where you can see, like, the power of the Rasen, right? With the War Growl, we're 12, we can swing over his 11, and then we still have enough to Digiburst, 3, 6, 9, 12, get the Bielstar out of here. So, you know, not bad, right? Like, this is Rasen at full power. We go into a Baldur Arm and fully clear the board. So really solid turn overall. Like, I think, you know, our opponent had so much pressure on us, and the Rasen really came through. Now, my thought process there is like, okay, Chaos Baldur Arm is, like, really good, because Musketeers historically don't have great ways to answer suspended level 7s, right? As they can Trump Sword it and Fly Bullet doesn't answer it. Now to think about it, I don't know if we even saw a Trump Sword from my opponent. I mean, the reality is, like, if you have to make room for all these new engines, like, you have to cut some cards, right? Now he does have quite a bit of memory to work with, and we're getting low on security, so I was still kind of scared. But, you know, at least we had a solid turn to fully clear the board, because otherwise it would have been done for sure. Going into the BL Star, so he tries to Fly Bullet, and I'm like, hey, you can't Fly Bullet me, I'm a level 7. But he could play Happy Bullet Shower, which does clear it. Now in deletion, we do get the extra memory, it's going to pass turn. But honestly, still a pretty solid turn from him. And this is one of those things where, like, you know, if that was like a huge tournament, like say Digifest, your opponent is going to play the Fly Bullet, and you're going to be like, okay. And then continue your turn because he played Fly Bullet, right? But at locals like this, we're all just trying to get better. It's a casual game. Like, I mean, it is tournament, but, like, we're having a good time, and I don't mind being nice. So I'm like, hey, you can't Fly Bullet that, even though he made that mistake, right? But the idea is that hopefully in the future he won't make that mistake again, right? BL Star swings. We have to start rebuilding in the back. This game is kind of tough though. Like, we've not done a lot of early game damage, and the Musketeers late game power is just absurd, right? The power of the late game when their trash is filled, and again, his deck has access to the Jack Raids, Sword, so just really strong stuff overall. Gonna go with 2 rookies. The Gassimon there is gonna just, you know, annoy the hell out of me basically, but we have some ways to deal with it. I have no security. We have a level 5 though. What plays can we make? So first of all, I'm gonna Digiburst to play a Tamer. Cost 0. I still love the Rasenmon. Acid Injection. We can clear the Gossymon, and now the Gossymon is out of the way. We have access to Blinding Ray. With no security, it's just gain 2 memory, which is really nice. Like I said, though, I had to make sure the Gossymon was out of there first. Now we can Blinding Ray again. Go into Kasuchi, get the full effect, recover 3. So, you know, this is a good game to show the type of plays that my deck could do. You see how, like, we were able to use the Rasenmon to clear multiple boards, and then get low in security, use the Kasuchi to heal back up. The Rasenmon can clear the Labramon. We hit for 2 swings. Now the Sword is still problematic, so we do have to Wyverns and pass over quite a bit of memory to do so. Our opponent did not tap the Mimi there. So, you know, just remember when you're playing, like, even if you have to take a second, like, make sure you get value out of all your tamers, all your effects. So a pretty solid turn for us. You know, we're able to get a lot of life back, clear the majority of his board. But at this point, like, I still need quite a bit of hits to end the game. And like I was saying, the Musketeer player is just set up. He's honestly going through his entire deck. He has, like, nothing else. Or almost nothing left. Where I'm kind of thinking, like, hey, can we just, like, deck him out? I'm looking at his trash. Essentially, at this point, being able to see most of his deck. And I'm definitely thinking, like, okay, he's got, like, maybe 3 or 4 cards left in the deck. Can we attempt to go for a deck out? Because it might be the best way to win. However, that means that, again, his trash is fully loaded. And now he can be playing BL Stars, Jack Raids. Yeah, BL Star for 1 is pretty disgusting. He actually gains memory because of the Mimi. Nailbone, I'm like, it has to be a level 3. But as long as he gets 1 promote, honestly, it's good enough, right? Promote has Rush, pretty strong card, has another promote. And that's going to be game 2 going to the Musketeer player. So that game, you know, we were able to show off the power of what Rasenmon can do and why Kasuchi is a good support Digimon for the deck. But I think I was a bit too slow in getting any real damage. And then we saw the power of the late game Musketeers, or just late game power of purple in general, right? Jack Raid, Sword, Icemons, Rush Digimon, just pretty good. Not open up a rookie, and then hitting that early fly bullet insecurity, plus the warp into the BLs, definitely hurt me. So we are 1-1 going into game 3 here. Pretty solid match though, like I said, I hope you guys are enjoying it. I'll try and get more footage up of the Rasenmon deck, so you guys can see it more in action. It is super sick. Although, you know, definitely not a tier 1 deck, but good enough for locals, 100%. I choose to go second because I want to get the rookie. Both on our first games, we have not opened up the rookie. So let's see if game 3 we could do any better. And hey, we opened up a Bushiagamon, Master of the Sword. Go into a Pitto, and then just go into a very early War Growl. So I like this start. You know, we have potential for level 6. Like I said though, Rasen this early on is not that great because it's just so expensive. So sometimes the early game for the Rasenmon deck can be a little bit awkward, which is why, again, I absolutely love the 8mon. Our opponent already off to a pretty solid start, instantly getting a bunch of draw and discards, set to the Mimi. At this point, we have to just swing. 7k is definitely a risk, but I think it's safe enough. There's another case where I believe my opponent doesn't tap the purple Mimi. He definitely could have. It would just unsuspended. He would get 1 memory. So again, just, you know, double check your tamers, make sure you use them. But yeah, the idea with Sigmund Wargrowl is, like, I know that if I give him a lot of time, he's going to, like, definitely win the late game. And I don't want to go into a Rasen early on. So I'm like, you know what? This is a risk we have to take. Let's just swing with the Wargrowl. 7k might be good enough. I don't believe he plays that many level 5s anyway, right? Hopefully we could start rebuilding another stack in the back. While the Wargrowl is definitely going to keep on swinging. Nailbone is less than ideal. He summons a Gabu, but hey, we have Wargrowl on effect, so we can instantly kill the Gabu. A pretty funny interaction there, honestly. We do have a rookie, which is good. So all we're kind of missing in this game is a tamer, but I like the 8 on there. It's going to put him to 1, and now we have, you know, a 7k and an 8k swinging at him. So it's definitely not what you expect from, like, a standard Rasen, but hey, sometimes you got to play to what your hand gives you, what the matchup is. And if swinging with 7s and 8s is the way we're going to win, then that's the play we're going to take for sure. But, you know, the power of the Icemon scatter mode, he gets so much cycle. That stack where you have Icemon, Gabumon, Demimeramon, it's disgusting. It's actually so absurd. He already has a good amount of cards in the trash. Might be aiming for that BL Star right away. It's pretty tough for us to deal with, honestly. He does play the BL Star. You know, it costs a decent amount of memory, but like it's really not that bad. We only get 6 to work with. I'm like, okay, ape swing, let's go. Get the Upa draw, which is good. Question is, what do we do now, right? Like, how am I gonna close the game out? I'm like, okay, he can already start dropping Bielsa for relatively cheap. We're definitely in a bit of a struggle. Gonna go Pulsemon. So the idea here is that with Pulsemon and Apemon, I get 2 swings next turn, and we had a memory and a Bushiagumon in hand. So my thought process was like, okay, if he like just does his thing and doesn't clear my board, we can go swing, swing, memory, maybe blinding, and then Bushi for game. Like I said, we definitely just took an aggro approach to this game. I think it was the most likely way that I would win this. But as you can see, even though it's still relatively early, my opponent's trash is already absolutely insane. He already has access to the Jack Raids, the Mimis. I know things are going kind of quick here, but yeah, he's just popping off, doing purple shenanigans. Gets to get some damage. So I'm like, okay, he's at 2, just like, don't clear my guys, don't clear my guys. Does go into another Beelstar, which is what I did not want to see. So now that Beelstar has cleared my board, we really don't have much to do. My full board is clear. And at this point, we had actually gone into time, you know, because the other games were kind of so slow. So I believe that we each only have 1 more turn to win the game here. I go into the Bushi in the back, so you could have seen, like, the idea was, again, my 2 Digimon survive, we go swing, swing, go into the Bushi. But we have to just start rebuilding. Gotta get the Beelstar off the board. I only gave him 1 to work with. And I know we're in time, right? So I know we don't have a lot of time left. He's still going aggro, keeps filling up the trash, definitely keeping up that pressure. But you know, I only gave him 1 memory to work with, and there was no way he was gonna get that many swings, right? So he's like, okay, what can I do? You just play the mat, be set up. But I believe that was his final turn, and at this point, we can't do the damage either. So it's actually gonna be a tie. That said though, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Thanks for watching.